Welcome to the 72nd Francis Dykes Bonspiel and Curl Stream's coverage of it. You're here with Joe Calabrese and Team Calabrese, my lead and technical advisor, Brien Anderson, my vice, the man with the shorts, Mike Mengel, and joining us shortly will be Jeremy Peters, our social media guru. So, Mike, let's start with you. What's your initial take on this competition?
Well, it's always a lot of fun. You get teams from all over the GNCC coming out. A lot of teams, it's their first Bonspiel out of town. It's good competition. It's good camaraderie. You get a balance of very competitive games and some really wacky games out there as well.
How many teams we got for this competition?
We have 47, which, as far as I know, is the second largest amount ever to compete in the Dykes Bonspiel, behind the 48 that were also here in Rochester 4 years ago.
So, Mike, tell me, who do you think the favorites are for this?
Well, I think two teams leap out at you. There's the Melville team, which has been in the finals the last couple of years, winning it last year as a defending champion. And then the Brien rink from Utica. They're all fifth-year curlers, and they actually beat Melville 2 years ago in the finals.
So Mike, tell me, for this Bonspiel, this might be the first time a team has come out to a Bonspiel, ever traveled before. It might be a team's first Bonspiel ever. It might be the largest one they've ever been in. What do you think the keys to victory are?
Well, part of it is having fun. You got to enjoy being out there. You got to pay attention to the ice. You got to have good strategy. But then there's some other things, too. Well, not so serious things that are important.
What do you mean by that?
Well, for one, you need your skip to not get into a fight with the GNCC chairman of the Dykes over having a sub from the host club as your fifth when one of your teammates is sick with a 24-hour flu bug when you're playing against a team from the host club.
I don't know anybody who would have done that.
You need to not get into a fight with one of your teammates who is obnoxiously drunk and trying to take a skanky towny girl named Ursula back to the hotel room while everybody else is trying to just go home and go to bed.
Where was Ursula from again?
That would be Nashua.
Oh, yeah, okay, just checking. Okay, Mike, so you were on a team that came really, really close. You lost out in a final to a Broomstones team. What else do you think might be a good key to victory for these teams?
Well, a lot of it is, especially in a tournament this big, you're going to have to win 6 games to win the championship. So you got to value your time off the ice. When you're done playing, it's important to get your rest. It's a long tournament. Have fun, have your drinks with the teams afterwards, but also know when it's time to bear down and concentrate on what's going to happen in that next game.
Yeah, there could be a pretty big layoff between the semifinals and the quarterfinals and the semifinals.
Unfortunately, in this format with this many teams, the way the draw is set up, you're going to have a long layup if you make the semifinals of the A event. So you'll have pretty much a whole day off. So enjoy that day.
Get involved in the boat races, maybe?
That's always important, but normally the teams that are in the semifinals have already done the boat races.
That's true. That's a good point.
Understand that.
So, Mike, Rochester has never won the first event of the Dykes. Tell me a little bit about Rochester's best chances for victory.
Well, there's probably 4 teams that might have a chance for Rochester to surpass the accomplishments of our team and the Mooney team from the year before us when both of us finished second. There's Mike Graziano's team. Mike actually lives in Philadelphia now, but he's played in Rochester all of his years up until now, and he's put together an experienced team that has had moderate success in this tournament before, so they definitely have a chance.
And Mike's got some national playdown experience, too, so that can't hurt him.
No, he's played in playdowns for a couple of years, came 1 game away from making the challenge round this year, so he'll bring that competitive experience to his team.
So who else do you think?
Another person who started off in Rochester but is out of the area now is Ryan Assetta's team. They're a little bit more of a long shot, but depending upon how Ryan has developed his game the last year and a half outside of Rochester, that could determine whether they go a long way in this event.
I heard he joined Amherst, so I'm rooting for that team.
That is true. Another one that has played really well earlier this year, they've encountered some bumps recently, is a team led by Walter Mihalenko. In full disclosure, Walter and his vice, Chris Benway, play on a open night with Joe and myself. So they've, like I said, have had a little bit of a rough spot here in the second draw in men's league, but they almost won the B League in the first draw, and they could surprise if they actually do put it together. And the team that I think has the best chance from Rochester is probably the team skipped by Jason Scott. His team has 3 people who are vice skips on A-level teams in Rochester. Jason himself is the vice skip of the Amato rink. His vice, Scott Parmalee, is the vice for Rick Van Kuyk. Their second, Eric Schmidt, is the vice for Phil Livingston. And then Ron Turk also plays on an A-level team. He's also on the Rick Van Kuyk team. So
if they can make a decision, they might be dangerous.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Mike. We're going to come back to you with some predictions in just a minute. Now let's bring in Brien Anderson, who's the technical expert on the Curl Stream program. Brien, this broadcast has been months in the making. Can you give some people an idea of all the technical advances that we have for this particular broadcast?
Sure, it's been hours and hours of work. We've got quite an amazing broadcast. The first thing is we're going to have a live score at the bottom of your screen. It's going to show end-by-end scoring. It's going to show who has hammer. On top of that, we have a live feed from our far house cameras. So we have the shot looking down straight on the house. They're not the best cameras in the world, but that's all we have. So you'll see that in the upper right-hand corner of your picture. We'll have some telestration. We have an on-ice mic that I found. Not the best mic either, but we'll get a little bit of on-ice audio. Yeah, it's going to be, we'll see some rocks remaining. We're going to show each shot, how many stones are left for each team. We're going to show player pictures if we have them, little biographies, little stats if we have somebody keeping stats.
That's right.
It's going to be quite a production, I tell you.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the telestration. I mean, you mentioned it. What's so great about that?
So we have a couple things going on with telestration. You know, your standard, draw some lines, show what's going to happen. We also have a little bit of issue. We're going to have a special feature called the virtual near house. So in that overhead shot, when the action is coming towards the camera, it's kind of hard to see the rocks with the skips in the way, and you can't really tell where these shots are. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that overhead shot, flip it around, and put some little rocks or circles in where the actual rocks are. So you'll get a kind of a little graphic of what the house looks like at any current time. It's going to be hard to do, lots of work, but it's going to look great.
Yeah, I think it'll rival anything else that's out there. I mean, we've been critiquing everybody else, and we think we've put together something pretty great. Brian's been the brains behind most of it, and certainly the expert behind actually making it happen. So we're excited. We can't wait to have it happen. Brien, thanks a lot.
Hey.
Now we're joined by our social media guru, Jeremy Peters. Jeremy, can you let everybody know how they can get in touch with the broadcast?
Well, we actually have 3 different ways that you can get in touch with us while we're broadcasting the games. You have the Facebook page, which is Team Calabrese. Just go to Facebook, look us up. And then we have justintv.chat, which is right there on the feed. And then if you have a longer question, or you just want to tell Joe what a great job he's doing, or maybe how good looking Mike is, you can say...
Who would do that?
That's true.
His wife.
Maybe if you just want to send us a longer question, you can use our Gmail account, which is teamcalabrese@gmail.com. And I'm sure these yahoos have told you how to spell Calabrese by now.
We have not.
C-A-L-A-B-R-E-S-E. That's an S, not a Z. S-E.
That's right.
And we're
C-A-L-A-B-R-E-S-E.
We're going to have some fun, so hopefully you'll have some fun at home, too. I'll be looking for your comments and suggestions and questions.
Thanks, Jeremy.
You're welcome, Joe.
Okay, I'm going to bring Mike Mingle back because we're going to talk about what we've got going on tonight. Mike, come on here. We've got a doubleheader action coming your way tonight. At 7 p.m., we've got the Jason Scott rink from Rochester versus Marchitelli from Pittsburgh. What do we know about those teams?
Well, we don't know much about the Marchitelli team, but what I do know about teams from Pittsburgh, whenever they come up here to Rochester for a play us in the friendly, for some reason they are very competitive. And maybe it's just something about teams that have played on traditionally play on arena ice. They learn to read the ice a lot faster than teams that play on dedicated curling ice. The Jason Scott rink, as mentioned earlier, is one of the teams that has a chance from the Rochester club. Jason Scott, he played in the Men's League Championship last year, losing it with Ron Mantha's team to us in the...
Yeah, I had to throw that in, didn't you?
Yes.
Hey, whatever.
Give ourselves a little props.
That's
every once
fine.
in a while. The rest of his team, like I said, mostly back-end players, have all had experience skipping.
Great. 9 o'clock game, we've got Powers from Norfolk going up against Mike Graziano, again from Rochester. What do we know about those teams?
Well, again, we don't know much about the team from Norfolk, Powers, but Mike Graziano, his team, lost in the semifinals of the A event last year in the Dykes. Like we mentioned earlier, he has some played-out experience. This is his 5th year in the Dykes. He's played with a lot of these guys before for a few years here in Rochester, so they look to be very competitive.
So, Mike, now it's time for predictions. There's 47 teams looking to take this thing down. Who do you have?
Well, breaking it down to the Final Four, I think it's hard to go against the two teams that have won it the past couple of years and are back in the tournament. So one region, I've got Melville coming out, got Brien coming out of the other, so on the other side. I think Brien will end up playing the team skipped by Mike Graziano in that semifinal. And on the other side, I think Melville will end up playing the Jason Scott rink in the other semifinal. And I look to see a rematch of the 2009 championship with Brien and Melville facing off. And
Sounds like maybe a year of disappointment again for Rochester.
it will be, but who knows?
Yeah, you
Anything
never
can
know.
happen.
Hey, for 2 out of 4 in the Final Four, you never know what might happen. Thanks again, Mike. Those are some great predictions. Now you have the answer key. You know exactly how it's going to turn out in the end. Watch anyway.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Okay, for Mike, Jeremy, Brien, and our entire Curl Stream crew, we want to thank you for tuning in to the 72nd Francis Dykes Memorial Bonspiel. Let's throw it upstairs to us
Somebody.
and get to the action on the ice.
Email us, chat with us.
Good curling and roll tide.
Roll Tide.